This is what we started talking about in class today with poker hands. This is some of the toughest probability that you can do. It's definitely going to be the hardest that we do. Hopefully you'll find your homework easier than most of what I do for you today, or doable based on what I talk about today. It may take some more thought on your part, but I'll talk about all sorts of different things with probability that plays into other things. It's not that cards are that important. Here's the cards I've been talking about. These are, I'll keep looking at this slide. There's diamonds, clubs, hearts, and spades. There are 4 suits. And each suit, like the diamonds, they all have, the diamonds, hearts, clubs, and spades, all have 13 cards that are called ranks by some people, or values. I'll be referring to the values as like ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll be talking about the values, and there's 13 of those. Okay, so here are different poker hands that we're going to be talking about. So like if you and I have just played poker and you have this hand and I have this hand, you're definitely going to beat me. This hand has a much higher probability than that hand. I'm not going to really teach you to play poker because I don't know much about it myself. But for instance, let's suppose, let's get another color, that this person had a straight. That's pretty impressive. A straight is a list of numbers in order, and I'll remind you of these words, but I wanted you to see a picture of them. You go, wow, that's really cool. You got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A sequential order of numbers, but they could be any suit. Remember, the suits are hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades. But there is something called a straight flush that's even more impressive, that beats that one, because not only do they have a sequential order of numbers, but they also are all the same suit, so that's even more impressive. And notice that the royal flush is all the high numbers, 10, jack, queen, king, ace, and it's all the same suit. And so a flush means the cards have all the same suit. A royal flush is very rare, hard to get. A royal flush is you have royals in it, like jack, queen, king, and the other 2 high ones are 10 and ace. And if it's a royal flush, that means they're all the same suit. Okay, you could have a straight. A straight means they're going in a straight line, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of any suit. If you have a straight flush, these numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are all the same suit, like this right here. 4 of a kind is self-explanatory. Full house, you may not know what that is. A full house is 3 of one number and 2 of another number. Like 3 jacks and 2 5s. A full house is of your 5-card hand. You have 3 of the same and 2 of the same. That's a full house. They obviously wouldn't be the same suit. And this one I've already talked about, a flush. They're not in any kind of order or straightness, but they are all the same suit. So a flush is all the same suit. Again, 3 of a kind is self-explanatory. 1 pair, and this one's 2 pair. And so we're going to talk about each one of these while I have them on the slide. Okay, and this is the order of winning if you and I were playing. So let's do 1 pair, and I'll try to be as consistent as I can in my working of these. Okay, so 1 pair, as I think about it, you don't really want to draw blanks. I mean, you might want to draw blanks to think about it. I'll draw blanks in a lot of them just to talk about it, and I'll keep going back to this slide as needed. But I really don't want to do blanks because that's a permutation. And like for instance, you could have all these cards in your hand and still have a royal flush, and you may just not have put them in order. It wouldn't matter what order they were in. So these are not permutations. The order does not matter. It's a combination. All these are combinations. Like for instance, a straight, you could have a 5, 9, 6, 8, and 7, and be really excited about it because you have a straight 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They don't have to be in any kind of order. But anyway, these blanks are not really talking about a permutation. It's talking about me just describing what's happening. A pair means that you're going to have two of the same number. Like you could have a king and a king of hearts, and maybe a king of diamonds. You could have a 5 and a 5, as long as these aren't whatever the other two are. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is decide for yourself which suit that you're in. Which value that you want. So I'm going to find which value I want. I'm just going to pick a sample one. Like, let's take this suit. Okay. And so I have 13 different values, and so I'm going to just pick one of those to repeat itself twice, like this. All right, so I'm going to say I have 13 of ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king. I'm going to choose one of those to repeat. And so those are all the different cards that I could have. And then what you want to do is you want to then pick your suit. And so you have 4 suits, and you're going to have 2 of those. So what that does is you go, okay, just sample. Like, let's say I'm going to pick a 5 to repeat. And I have 4 different suits. And so what that combination does is it puts the 5 of diamonds with the 5 of hearts, or it puts the 5 of diamonds with the 5 of clubs, or it puts the 5 of clubs with the 5 of hearts, or the 5 of spades with the 5 of diamonds, and so on and so forth. And since we started it out with the C13 1, that's all the different ways that these could be chosen. And then when we multiply it by C4 2, it's all the ways, once you choose one of these, how many ways it pairs it with the other suit. So remember, I chose a value, and then I decided I wanted it in any of these 4 in groups of 2. And that way I would have 2, let's say I'm on this line, I would have 2 10s, or 2 5s, or 2 8s. Okay, so, and you'll see the consistency of this as much as I can show you. All right, then we're not through, as we were talking about in class. So we were kind of brainstorming this problem earlier. Now we've got one more card left. We have 3 cards left. So what this does is it chooses a number to repeat itself. And so now I have 3 cards left, and I want to make sure I don't use, like, whatever, let's say that we used the kings. Well, I don't want any more kings in here, and so I'm not going to use a king out of my value or my rank. And so I have 12 cards that are run in groups of 3. All right, so suppose I had king, king. Let's see, I wish I had different colors. Let's say I have the king of hearts and the king of spades, or the king of diamonds, because I can draw a diamond better. And then I could have like a 4, 7, 3. Okay, I just chose 3 different numbers. I can't have a king. And so in this, sorry, I erased a lot of this. I'm going to draw on the slide a lot. And so the kings are out and each of your values. So now it can be any of these 12, and then I'm going to also address the fact that there's 4 suits, which I'm going to do in just a minute, but I use one suit and look at the values. So now I have 12 to choose from. So say I chose the 6, and then I had the 8, and then I had the 4. Okay, well, really, when I chose the 6, it could have been any of these 4. And when I chose the 10, it really could have been any of these 4. And when I chose the 4, it could be any of these 4. Okay, so this was 12, choose 3. And then this one could be really, this really doesn't have to be the number 4. But whichever one I chose out of the 12 remaining and put them in groups of 3, this one could have been any of all 4 suits. This one could have been any of all 4 suits. And this one could have been any of all 4 suits. And so then I'm going to multiply all of that together to get my numerator. And on the bottom I have C 52 5 because I'm getting all 52. That's all the different ways you can get a card hand. So I have a calculator that I'll use some. I'm not going to use it a lot. It's a lot like your TI. The reason I'm not going to use a lot is it's time consuming to type it in, and I can go ahead and let you try it on your own if I just set them all up. Okay, so the numerator, I'm going to go to math, and I'm going to go to number, and I'm going to go to probability. Sorry, I'm going to go to probability, and I'm going to pick NCR, but first I need to put my number in. So I'm going to put in parentheses 13. Hopefully you're looking at your paper. And then I'm going to go math, probability, NCR, and I want them one at a time. It looks a little different on your calculator, but it's the same idea. You may want to try to type along with me. Then I'm going to go for math, and I want 2 cards out of the suits. Okay, and then I have 12 math, probability, and they're groups of 3. And for the 3rd card, the 4th card, and the 5th card, there's really 4 different suits to choose from. So then I'm going to multiply that by 4 to the 3rd. Okay. So on the top, I have that number, and then I'm going to divide that by 52 math, probability, C5. And that gives me 0.422569% or 0.4266. And I'll show you that that's really valid later on in the class if you remember that 0.4266 if you are following along on the worksheet that I've given you, where you're maybe filling in my work, or you can try some of your other ideas and see if they work. At the end I'll show you that these are really true by people that really figure these out. Okay, now, so it's kind of likely that you could get 1 pair. All right, now don't you think it's less likely that you could get 2 pairs? So now let's go to 2 pairs. So I'll use this slide again for 2 pairs just to try to get some consistency down. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to pick my values. Okay, so this is number 2. All right, so first of all, I'm going to pick my values, and I'm thinking this is what it's going to look like. Like maybe I'll have a 6, a queen, and then a 3, okay? So here's my 2 of a kind. All right, so what I'm thinking of is, first of all, I'm going to think of my numbers like a 6 and a queen. So I have 13 cards, and I'm going to pick 2 of them to repeat. Now, then I'm going to talk about my suits. And so I have C42 and C42. So let's stop and talk about why that is. Like, I picked the 6s, and so I want, I can have this in any, that's this one. I could have this in any suit in groups of 2. And then this is the second choice in the values, and I could have this, so I'm talking about these. First, these are my choices. This one picks any of the 13 numbers, and then this one arranges it, the first one in any suit in groups of 2 and any suit in groups of 2. All right, and then this last number, how many numbers are left if I've picked a 6 and a queen? So going back to this slide, it helps to look at the cards. All right, so first of all, if I'm thinking 2 of a kind, or say I'm trying to get 2 of a kind, okay. So it would have to be like a 6 and a queen, but I need 2 of those, and so it could be paired with any of these. That's where that C42 comes in. But first you gotta say, oh, it's gonna be one of these 2 cards. It doesn't have to be those 2, it's just a sample. All right, now these 2 cards are out, And so now my value that I go to next is there's 11 of these left. All right, so I have a C11, and I only have one more card, so it's not going to be in groups. But that's just looking at like this card, okay? And there's 4 of those. And so I have 4 choices for that. So you're thinking of the value of the card and the suit of the card. And so it's just one slot, so I have 4 of those. This was a suit, all the suits for each of these last 3 numbers, trying to get some consistency here. All right, and then you could type that into your calculator and check your value. We'll do that one. All right, so I have, let's clear this out. And it's very similar to your calculator. All right, so I have 13 C2. It's very likely you've got to kind of stop the video sometimes and think about this or watch it again. Then I have 4 math C2. And then, so that's for my first card of the 13 that I chose. For the second card, I have 4 math C2. And so if you look at that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom there. That's 4 cards. And then for my last card, I'm going to choose out of 11, math C1. There's only 1 card, but there's going to be 4 choices of those. It could be in any suit. So that's on the top, divided by that 52C5, which is all the hands that you can have. And that probability is 0.04754. Okay, so maybe you wrote that down on your paper. Let me go on to this slide where I take you to a screenshot or a picture of actually what people look at if they're playing poker. The probability of not having anything any good in your hand is very high. 1 pair, we got this number. 2 pair, we got this number. I hope, let's go back and look at it, 0.0475. Let's see. Yeah, 0.0475. All right, so what we're doing is real. Now, if I keep going, maybe we'll get some consistency here. All right, so we've done 1 pair, we've done 2 pair. And this one, if this high card business, like for instance, if I have a 3, or I can't draw because I'd have to draw all the different colors, but if I had a mixture of things where I didn't have a pair, I didn't have a flush, I didn't have a straight, and we both kind of had nothing, then the highest card would win. That's why it's called high card. But so we've kind of done that one. All right, and we'll talk about that at the end. All right, so now I'm going to 3 of a kind. All right, so 3 of a kind's a little different. So we're doing this one, 3 of a kind. All right, so we would have something like 5, 5, 5, and then not 5s for these last 2. Okay, so again, to try to get things going, first of all, we're going to pick what number we're going to just kind of choose a representative. Like this person chose 2s, I chose 5s. So you're picking your value just to play around with, and then you're going to make sure it works for all the suits and all the values. When I go search C13-1, there's really 13 ways to do that. It takes all of these numbers and it says, what if I choose this one? 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 But we just kind of do one as a sample. So what if I choose the 5? And but if I choose the 5, I want 3 of a kind, okay, from these 4 suits. So this chooses a value for me. All right, so I just want one number to repeat itself, and then I want to get it in all the suits, 4, 3. All right, then it leaves these 2, so now I can pick any 2 other cards. And how many are left? Since I've picked a 5, and it repeated 3 times. I don't want to use the other 5 that I haven't used, but I can use any of the other 12 2 at a time. And so I can use any of the other 12 as long as I don't use a 5. And those each have, I'm trying to say it right. I picked a value, now I'm picking the suit. So this one could be any of the 2 remaining of the 12 cards like this. Any of the 2 remaining, but it could be in any suit. So on that one we have times 4 times 4 or times 4 squared. And so that 3 of a kind would be on the top. Now, let's go ahead and punch that one in, and then we'll check our data. All right, so we have on that one, let's clear this out. Okay, so I had 3 of a kind. So I had, first of all, pick a number. So this would be 13 math C1. All right, and then we want to get them in groups of 3 for the different suits. So we have 4 math 3. And then we want that last card, which could be any of the 12. And that could be, those last 2 cards could be any of the 4 suits. And so I'm going to multiply that by 4 squared, which of course is 16. Okay, and then I'm going to divide that by the 52C5. And our probability is 0.00213. So a 2% probability about. And so if I go to this last slide, and let's look at 3 of a kind. It's rarer, definitely more rare to get 3 of a kind. So we had that number on our calculator. All right, now, and you can see the frequency there, 54,912. All right, now let's go on to, okay, next I'm going to, I may not go in the order of this. All right, so next one I want to do, I really want to look at some of the rarer ones, and you'll see why. So next I'm going to do one that's relatively easy called a royal flush. Okay, for a royal flush, there's really only 4 choices. Okay, I don't really have to do much of anything. I can have an ace, king, queen, jack, 10, or 10, jack, queen, king, ace, of hearts, of diamonds, of spades, and of clubs. I'll just go diamonds, spades, and clubs since I can't draw those. And so that's all. I can just have any, that's all I can have. And so there's really only 4 ways out of that C52.5. So it's very, very rare to get a royal flush. If you divide that, you will get, I'm sorry, I forgot what, it's right here. Royal flush, it's very rare. So here's this one. There's only 4 ways, and so you don't have a very good probability of getting that. All right, so that's a royal flush. That means you got all the face cards in there with the 10 and the ace, the high cards. All right, so the next one I want to do, so we've done this one. The next one I'm going to do is a straight flush. Let's do this one. Okay, for a straight flush, let's go back to this slide to talk about what a flush is. A royal flush just had to be either this one with the ace up here, or, sorry, I circled too much. Let me get rid of this. Some people, in cards, when doing a royal flush especially, you're counting ace as a high card. And a lot of card games, most of the ones I've ever played, the ace is a high card, so it's really up here. All right, so you could have a 10, jack, queen, king, ace. There are only 4 ways to get a royal flush, all right, of each one of these. All right, so don't even really need a lot of counting there. That one's easy. All right, now what's a little more difficult is, and with flushes, there's not really a big need to do a combination because they're easier to count. Because the flushes have to be like ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1. Or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2. Or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 5. I think I was on 6. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack. 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen. 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. And you could also have 10, Jack, King, Queen, Ace. Okay, but if you think about it, I really don't want to include that last one, so there's 2 ways to look at it. Oh, and that's just for one suit, so that would be times 4. So there's 40 ways to get what's called a straight flush. But I'm really going to subtract out that last one that I did, the 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, because if you have a straight flush like these 5 and somebody else has this one, they're going to win. So they wouldn't really call this a straight flush. It's siphoned off into the royal flush. So I'm going to subtract off the 4 that we had earlier, and there's only 36 of them. All right, another way to look at it would have been, while I was doing my count, not to even count the royal flush. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by the time I got out to here. Okay, by the time I'd finished with 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. Okay, so there were 9 of them, and 9 times 1, 2, 3, 4 would give us this 36. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Let's go back to this, and we're on straight flush. There were 36 ways, and you can figure out your probability the way that I've been typing it into my calculator. All right, so the next one I'm going to go to is, let's see, just a plain, let me go back to my ones I'm crossing off. Let's see, which one have I done? I think I've been circling a lot of things. Let's see, I did 3 of a kind. Where have I been marking these off? Okay, here it is. All right, so I did a straight flush, and now I'm going to do a straight. Okay, so let's go to this slide, and I'll cross this one off because we're about to do a straight. All right, so a straight is just 5, 6, 7,